fight fans? UFC 284 coming around the corner this Saturday. I cannot wait. It's going to be one hell of a fight night. We got ourselves an interim featherweight championship on the line. Co-main event, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. It's going to be a very, very fun fight. These guys are action-packed fighters. These guys come to win. These guys come to leave it all in the octagon, and I cannot wait for this fight. Right now, I'm about to break it all down to you guys. How can these guys win? How can Yair win? How can Josh Emmett win? What happens if he wins? What happens if the other guy wins? What happens if they lose? What is going to be next? I'm just going to let you guys all know. I'm going to break it all down right now. So let's start with Yair Rodriguez. Yair is coming off I don't want to say it's an impressive victory because it was an unfortunate victory, I guess is the proper way to say this. He had a fight back in July with Brian Ortega. It was going to be one hell of a fight. I was definitely looking forward to that fight. I believe he went for some type of submission or something. I can't remember exactly what transpired, but Brian Ortega's shoulder ended up popping out in the first round, and they ended up giving the fight to Yair Rodriguez. So yeah, it was very unfortunate. You know, it was very it was a definitely high anticipated fight for Yair, but you know, things happen. It happens. You know, injuries do happen in the cage, and it is what it is. But he's also coming off a very great performance. He didn't win this fight, but a great performance against Max Holloway. You know, Max Holloway ended up edging out that victory, but he still performed really, really well. Really, really well. Josh Emmett, on the other hand, he's coming off a win over Calvin Kattar, and he's had a few impressive wins himself. So definitely it's going to be an action-packed fight, guys. You definitely don't want to miss this fight for sure. You definitely don't. So let's break this down. How can Yair win? Well, Yair is basically your stand-up kickboxer, I guess you could say. You know, he has a few grappling little exchanges here and there, but he is definitely heavy on his feet. He definitely is heavy on his kicks. He is very stylistic. You remember, if you're a follower of Yair Rodriguez, you remember that crazy knockout, that last home run hitting knockout over the Korean Zombie. You know, pretty much like a spinning back elbow type thing going on, and pretty much knocked out Korean Zombie out cold. And then you also remember a few of his fights with Jeremy Stevens. Unfortunately, one of them did not go that great. So he's had a few good fun fights. You know, he hasn't had the greatest career. You know, he was off for quite some time. I believe he was going through some personal troubles. I remember the UFC ended up letting him go. There was just a lot going down with Yair Rodriguez. But now looks like he got himself together. Looks like he's doing great. You know, like I said, he had a great performance over Max Holloway with his leg kicks, and he was able to use some of his crisp boxing. He has some really good boxing, really good techniques, and like I said, I was really looking forward to that Brian Ortega fight, and he still looked pretty decent in there. He was using some of his jabs, some of his footwork. So yeah, Yair Rodriguez is very fast, and very creative, I guess you could say, in the cage. So he definitely could win by pretty much using his extra length, using that arm length, using his size, and keeping that distance, and pretty much jabbing Josh Emmett's face, and pretty much getting creative, using those long legs and kicking, you know, doing some inner kicks, and basically using some of his stylistic martial arts that he's had that got him to this point, you know, that pretty much was able to get him to where he is at now. I could definitely see Yair edging out a victory in the like third, maybe fourth round if he's able to pretty much overwhelm Josh Emmett with strikes. If he could definitely overwhelm Josh Emmett with strikes and continue to frustrate him and cause him to be like frustrated and such, then I could definitely see a possible stoppage due to striking. I could definitely see a possible stoppage due to striking for Yair. What if he wins? Well, again, this is for the interim championship, and this is number one contender fight pretty much to Alexander Volkanovski the Great, who's fighting later on that night against Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. I could definitely see that fight going down in that. What a fun fight that would be. You know, Yair Rodriguez versus Volkanovski, a definitely very fun fight. But I mentioned in a previous video that I don't see Volkanovski trying his best to go up and down in weight. You know, it's just, I don't feel like it's a smart move. Not saying he won't do it. You never know. He might do it. He's actually said he wants to do it. So I could definitely see that potential fight going down. But if it doesn't, there is a fight that's actually being taking place later on in the month, later on in the year, with Arnold Allen versus Max Holloway, and I could see a potential matchup with these guys. The winner of Josh Emmett versus Yair Rodriguez versus the winner of Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen for the undisputed featherweight championship. Well, if if Volkanovski just so happens to win the lightweight championship and decides to stay in lightweight. That's just a possibility. But that I could see that would be another fun fight. A possible rematch with Max Holloway if Yair wins, or a new rising star Arnold Allen. That would be a fun fight as well. What if Yair loses? Well, he's still very young. He's still very young in this game, and there's plenty of time for him to adapt. There's plenty of time for him to learn some new skills, to go back to the drawing board and go back in there. And I could definitely see him getting another title shot with a couple more victories underneath his belt. Like I said, he has a fight. There's a fight that's taking place later on the year with Max Holloway and Arnold Allen. I could see him possibly even taking on the loser of that fight. That would actually be a fun fight as well, whoever that may be. So now what about Josh Emmett? Josh Emmett is a very explosive fighter. He's been around the game for a while. I believe he trains out of Uriah Faber's training camp. He's trained with guys like TJ Dillashaw, with Cody Garbrandt, with Chad Mendes. He's been around for quite some time. This is his first, I believe, title shot that he's getting. Even though it's an interim belt, still one hell of a way to finally get a strap underneath you. I can see a potential winning for him too, because he is one hell of a striker. He is definitely one powerful hitter. I do strongly believe he's the more powerful out of both of them. We've seen what he was able to do to Michael Johnson, that crazy knockout that he was able to do, the way he was able to withstand Calvin Kattar. He had unfortunate losses here and there with like Jeremy Stevens, and a few others. I am drawing a blank on some of the names right now, but he's had some up and downs in his career. So this is actually a really good opportunity for Josh Emmett. So how can Josh Emmett win? Well, unfortunately, it is not due to what got him to the game. It's not got him to this dance right now. It is not with striking. It's not with power striking. It is with wrestling. What Yair struggles with is wrestling. He could have gotten better. He could have. But we remember that fight that he had with Frankie Edgar. He pretty much got taken down at will, no problem. And that is something that he rarely struggled with. So that's something that Josh Emmett, if he really wants this win, if he really wants that strap, he needs to really not make this into a striking contest. He really needs to, use his wrestling if he has any. I'm pretty sure he's somewhat of a decent wrestler, but I've seen a couple of his fights. He has some wrestling game a little bit, but he really needs to use that wrestling skill and take Yair to the ground and pretty much ground and pound, possibly go for submissions. Do not make this into a kickboxing fight. Do not make this into a striking fight. You don't want to do that, because Yair is longer. He has the longer reach. He has the longer legs. He will pretty much beat you to the punch at will. But if Josh Emmett could do that, and if maybe he can make Yair second guess, then I could see a possible way for Josh Emmett to edge out a decision. 100%. I could definitely see that being a possibility. Now, what if Josh Emmett wins? Well, like I just broken down with Yair Rodriguez, it could be a possible matchup with Volkanovski, or if Volkanovski stays on lightweight, be a possible matchup with Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen, the winner of that being for the undisputed strap. So I could see one of these other guys winning. That would definitely be a fun fight, whether it be Max Holloway or Arnold Allen. Definitely a very fun fight. So that was something to be looked forward to. What happens if Josh Emmett loses? Well, it's hard because, he is getting up there in age. This is his first time up here in the big stage in a championship fight. So can he do it again? Possible. Would he want to? I'm not sure. It's all depending on him. But it'll be tough. It will definitely be tough for him, and does he have the ability to do it? Absolutely. Because you never want to count anybody out. You never want to say you can't never do it again, because we look at guys like Glover Teixeira. He had a championship fight with John Jones, and, in the mid 2000s to the early 2000s, and after that fight, later on, almost 10 years later, he gets another title shot and wins and becomes one of the oldest champions of all time, one of the oldest, well into his 40s. So I'm not saying that's going to happen for Josh Emmett. You never know. He could win the strap now, or you never know. Maybe he might win it 2 or 3 years from now. You never know. You just never stop trying. You always keep going until you literally cannot go no more. That's just my personal opinion. Well, there you go, guys. That's my breakdown of both Josh Emmett versus Yair Rodriguez. Let me know in the comments, guys, on what you think is going to happen in this fight, who you think is going to win, and how do you think they're going to win. Let me know, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.